Well, thanks everyone for being here tonight. I am Dr. Cameron Ryba, the superintendent at Strongsville City Schools, and we are at the annual State of the Schools event, and my role today is really the opening act. We are here we're trying something new this year. We're having a student and staff exhibition of the great work that we're doing across the school district. So my role today is to share some updates, give some context to the work that we're doing to drive forward to be an innovative school district, and then we're going to turn it over to the real superstars of this school district, our students and our staff, to share some highlights about the great work that's going on around the school district. You know, I've been superintendent here. This is my 9th year as superintendent. And one of the things that I realized was never on the job description or nothing that was ever shared as I started, but one of the things that I've realized over the years is that a skill that I need to be a good superintendent is I have to be great at telling the story of our school district. And so as I go around and talk to different groups or have State of the Schools events, I share different stories. And if we think about the elements of the stories, we always have a character, right? And the main character for us as a school district is our students. And usually that character in the story faces some sort of adversity, some sort of challenge that we get through. But through that challenge, there's a guide, there's a plan, there's a force to move forward to ultimately get to the reward, the surprise ending, the great accomplishment at the end. So my job today is to tell you a story, a little pieces, parts of our story as a school district. And sometimes to know the story of where we're going into the future, we've got to take a look back at where we were in the past. And so when we take a look at our past, there was a common theme of our story based on the work that we want to do for our students. And it does start, even though we're a school district, it does start on the foundation of the financial support that we have from our community. So I know some of our students I'm looking at right here, you weren't even around back in the 80s. I was in the 5th grade, I think, in 85. But back in the day, Strongsville was growing. It was a growing, developing community, and that developing, growing community needed financial support to best meet the needs of its students, its characters at that time. And if you take a look at what's here, part of our story, part of our history in Strongsville is that we've had a challenging time raising the funds necessary to meet the growing and demanding needs of our students. So as you can see, from 1985 to 2002, the school district at that time had 16 attempts, some every other year, and only 5 of those monetary or levy issues passed in a 16-year period. If you do the math real quick, that's 31%. And so every 3 to 5 years, the school district was asking for funding to help support its students and grow the work that it wanted to do as a school district. Now, you may be wondering, why 2003? Well, that's the year I came to Strongsville. So in 2003, the district had just passed a levy in August of 2002. It was reinstating past reduced positions, and guess who was one of those reinstatements? It was me. They reduced an assistant principal position. They brought it back in 2003, and I was the assistant principal at Albion Middle School. But that financial stability was short-lived. And so what we did during that time period is we reinstated and maintained, but we were maintaining at a 1990s level when we were working in the 21st century. And so we passed that levy, and then we were in financial trouble again. We hit that adversity where we were not able to financially support the programs and peoples and services and supports that we had, and we not only could maintain, but we had to start reducing. And we put new levies on the ballot, and those failed multiple times, and finally in 2007, we had a levy pass. But unfortunately, that levy that passed in 2007, all it did was stop us from deficit spending. All it did was stop us from going into the negative, and even after that levy passed, we had to reduce some more until we maintained, because in 2011, we had 3 different levy attempts fail. Now, I tell you this story because this story is not about finances. This story is about students. If you take a look at 2003 to 2014, that is a generation of kids that had an education that was about reducing, reinstating, and maintaining. And I hope we all can understand and agree that as we look at the needs in 2015 and beyond, that our students deserve and need more than that. And so since 2015, we've had strong financial management. We've had collaborative processes with our associations and our staff. And we've had strategic leadership that's been in place to help chart a new path and a new story and a new chapter for our school district. And that's what I'm here to tell you about today, is the story and the work that we've done as a school district to make sure that we're not maintaining and we're not reducing and we're not reinstating, but we're growing and progressing to not just become but to sustain the premier school district that we are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through a few chapters of our story here together, and it starts with our aspirational goal, our purpose. And so what we try and strive for every day in Strongsville City Schools is to ensure that our kids have a passion, a drive, a burning desire to learn and grow, and that they have the power to have voice and choice in the work that they're doing, so that whether it's career or military or college, that they have the skills to be the best versions of themselves when they leave as seniors. And so said in a fancy way, we are inspiring and empowering today's learners to become tomorrow's leaders. And we're aspiring to that purpose by setting forth a 3-year strategic plan with strategic priorities about transforming teaching and learning, about aligning staff and resources, cultivating culture and climate, and as we learned in our history, that's got to be on the baseline of leveraging our funding and facilities. So that each day we have our pathway through our mission statement, which is to design a premier educational experience where we can build not only great content knowledge within our kids, but the skills of being innovative and collaborative and global and empowered and resilient so that they can be architects of their learning equipped to thrive in their future rather than our past. And so when we take a look at our kids around the school district, we have 5,700 diverse learners, and those learners have needs, whether it's learning English as a second language, maybe they best learn in a digital platform, that they have they're identified as students with gifted and talented, needing gifted and talented services, special education supports, or supporting the needs of learners that come from families that are economically disadvantaged. So no matter how the paths come to our school district, our job is to help support, to inspire and empower every learner that comes through our doors. And when we take a look at the ways that we do that, as a school district in 2024 and beyond, we're working to reimagine the classroom. We're working on the whole child to support our kids, not just academically, but through their own mental health and social emotional learning. We do that by infusing technology and looking at how artificial intelligence is going to change the landscape of schools. By also creating diversified opportunities, career pathways, and on the foundation of having great facilities and the funding to make these programs not only begin, but maintain. And so my job today is to be the opener to share the great work that's going to be happening outside these doors when I'm done with my comments. So let me share with you, in terms of reimagining the classroom, some of the challenges that we're facing in schools in 2024. We need to understand as educators that the engagement and learning needs of our kids have changed. That's one of the challenges that we face as we open our schools to our kids. Now, what we've done as a school district is we've provided professional development. We've instituted and implemented a tremendous amount of coaching around our school district to not just look at how can we be the best now, but how can we be the best in the future to meet our growing and diverse needs of our students. So after I'm done here sharing my comments and you go out and to the exhibition to see and interact, you're going to see some of our great students and great professionals, and some of the highlights that we have here tonight about how we're reimagining the classroom are focused on early literacy strategies in the preschool classroom. We have teachers here to show what are we doing instructionally and engagement-wise to bring that in and to engage our students in their learning in our K-5 classroom. We have representatives from Polaris to share our STEM pathways as well as project-based learning experiences across the district to show the how of the what we're doing in our classrooms. And when we talk about technology and artificial intelligence, we all understand, because whether you're in schools or in private business, that technology is exponentially changing at such a rapid pace the work that we do. And so rather than sit back and wonder how are we going to address this, we've developed a meaningful infrastructure within our school district, providing every student with a Chromebook, with tech coaches to help support our adults in developing their knowledge of fundamental programs. So technology is just not a nice to have or a cool tool or a cool device, but it's meaningfully integrated to inspire and empower the learning of our students. So as you leave here and go and visit the exhibition, you may want to check out some of the tech integration that's happening in our elementary schools as well as some of our coding programs. We've got a station set up for esports. I'm not into esports, but we've got a great team that is, and you can learn a few things by the setup, and I think we even have it set up where you can interact and be a part of that, so it'll be a great experience for all of you, as well as we are doing a live podcast as part of some of our students that are in that group today, so we encourage you to check that out. And finally, in terms of career pathways, whether it's going from high school to work, or high school to military to work, or high school to college to work, We want to provide career pathway experiences for our students while they're still in our school district, and that's why we've developed specific career exploration pathway programs. We've had teacher collaboration with our business partners, and you could see firsthand not only our career exploration program students that are here and our teacher that's here, our family consumer science options, as well as other career pathway courses in the middle school. Not only are we investing in our students in those areas, but as you can see, we are also investing in our students by expanding our course offerings. So take a chance or take a minute to go and check out some of the work that's happening out there. Mr. Jenkins is going to be out there. He oversees our drama program, but he's also a key English teacher that's helped bring our speech and communications course off the ground, as well as a teacher that will be highlighting some of the digital art that we have. We have a couple of our literacy coaches here tonight to share the great work that we're doing in our elementary schools through the science of reading, as well as media specialists and other teachers to look at how we're integrating maker spaces throughout our school district. Not only have we invested in programs, but we've invested in people to help support our students, whatever their needs may be, and you can see a long list here. But some of the folks that are with me here tonight to share and showcase the work that they're doing are English language teachers and sharing how they've integrated technology to support our students that are learning English for the first time. We have a secondary math coach that's here that'll show how her work with the math department to reimagine how we teach math at the secondary level and the impact that it's having on our students. And then finally, as I shared, we've got coaches that are here to share what we're doing in reading or see the benefits of what they're doing through our project-based learning experiences. So beyond reimagining the classroom and integrating technology and building career pathways, we also are working to support the mental health and social emotional learning needs of our students. Our young people, as we can all attest, are growing up in a world that's different than the one we did. And the mental health and social emotional skills and needs they have to develop are significant, and as a school district, we are here to support. And so we supported that by a continuum of supports, whether it be through our PBIS, or Positive Behavior and Intervention Supports Program, our Model Mustang program, whether it be whole group, class, or small group counseling, as well as partnering with local mental health experts to provide those services to our students. So if you want to learn more about those programs and offerings and supports that we have available, we have a station that's set up for you to engage with our counselors and mental health professionals to see exactly what's happening in our classrooms and with our students. And finally, our kids need diversified opportunities inside the classroom as well as outside. And so we've worked hard to exponentially increase the number of offerings that we have for our students. And so we have, as you could read here, we have the esports, as we've talked about, Unified Sports, which is a program to support same-age peers and students with disabilities and engaging in a variety of sports activities. We've increased intramurals and music opportunities from athletic opportunities to outside of clubs and activities and non-athletic and music club activities to bring students' interest to life here in the high school, and you could see by the quantity that we've done that recently. So some of the things that are out there that you could see and interact and talk with firsthand is you can learn more about our K-5 visual arts program. You can learn about a variety of extracurricular opportunities we have across the high school, what our media specialists are offering through our media centers, our brand new intramural program that started a year ago that's a huge success here, as well as what's going on in our theater department and the drama courses that are providing these great experiences for our students. And so it's not just been in the academic realm that we've put a lot of effort and work into, but also in our athletics, whether it be supporting the budget of athletics, increasing our coaching level, increasing new athletic opportunities, but we also hired a new assistant athletic director. Now, the reason I highlight that one is because when you hire a new position, you're able to create new programs and ideas, and tonight we have a couple of those to highlight when you go around. You could see and interact and learn about our intramural program, as well as the vast athletic opportunities that we have, and maybe learn about the work that we're doing to support the mental health of our athletes based on some programs that the athletic boosters and the athletic department have partnered with. In addition, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the safety aspects. I know our chief of police is here, as well as other safety forces tonight in the fire department, but we've partnered with them for many years, and whether it be SROs in our buildings to the different devices and safety protocols that are there, Chief and I met recently, and we could say without a doubt we have done everything possible that we can to ensure that our main priority is fulfilled, which is the safety and security of all of our students here in the district. And so one of the things as we talk about how we've invested in the school district, we hear in the community once in a while is, hey, Bear with me, students. This is not going to get exciting for you, okay? So what we talk about is, why does the district have this cash balance? Why are they treating this cash balance like a savings account? And hopefully, as we've seen, we're not treating it as a savings account. First of all, and I'll talk about it a little later when we get into more of the finances, is that we need to first understand that as a school district, when you pass a levy, revenue stays relatively flat as expenses increase. So that is not really a savings account. It's not a rainy day fund that we have just in case. It's actually a very specific and purposeful way to have revenue to make a levy cycle last so that we don't repeat some of the challenges we've had in the past, and I'll talk more details about that here shortly. But hopefully you can see through all the programs, services, and supports and staff we've put into place recently that we do invest. We do not treat it as a savings account. And over the last few years, we've invested approximately $2.5 million more a year that's gone directly back to supporting our kids, their programs, and their needs. And we've also done another roughly $500,000 of one-time investments into the district. And so why do we think that's prudent? Why do we think that amount works? Is because, as we've learned, we don't want to repeat the lessons learned in the past of reinstating too much, reinvesting all at once, and then financially we can't sustain it. So we've been able to sustain, for the last 17 years, more programs and services and supports with only having to go to the community for new funding once. And so one of the great programs that we have invested in and supported is our band program. Over the years, we have invested into instrument replacement, we've invested into marching band drums, and what better to show the investment into this specific group of students than invite our phenomenal high school jazz ensemble to the stage to share a few numbers and their talents with us. So before you leave the stage, a couple shout outs to this. You guys were phenomenal. Let's give them another round of applause. First of all, a couple shout outs. This group right here was done for many years as a voluntary group by the band director, and this is one of the new contracts that we put forth to support it and officially recognize it as a district and reinvest back into the school district, and obviously that's money well spent. The other thing that I would say is, was it last week we were down at Columbus for the OMEA. Mr. King and the Wind Ensemble performed as a featured group, the first time in 40 years that they've been featured down in Columbus as a performance group, so that's phenomenal. And I just got to tell me your name again. Jamil. So I found out earlier today, so I used to play trumpet years ago. You were way better than I was back then. You were phenomenal. And you guys all did a great job. But I heard Jamil, so there's this thing in music where you go to contests, right? You go to contests and you pick different pieces and you perform, and a superior rating is what you're hoping to get. And so I did a few contests in my day, and I got a few superior ratings, but I did it on the trumpet. This young man, what I heard is 7 superior ratings on 5 different instruments. Isn't that crazy? So thank you for being a part of our special night. We're just going to kind of transition real quickly, and then we'll get back to a few more slides of highlighting the great work that's going on in the school district. So if you remember back to that first slide, we had a variety of areas we wanted to talk about where we're really placing our focus as a school district. And a piece of that foundational piece, is our facilities as well as our funding. Now, I want to give a shout out. We've talked a lot about some of the great experiences you'll be able to have here in the exhibition. There's 3 more that really are the foundation and core of the operations of the school district. So you'll be able to talk with our maintenance foreman to learn about all the phenomenal projects that are going on in our school district, saving thousands of dollars. Our representatives from our transportation staff is here tonight to share the work that they're doing, give some pointers for school bus safety, and make sure that we continue to have a great program of our school buses as we do. And our food service staff, we have representatives from our food service staff that in the line out there, they've got sampling of different treats and options that your students could have in our our kitchens across the district. And so with that, we want to give a few highlights about where we're at and where we're going in terms of our facilities and our funding as a school district, because as we learned earlier, that's the core foundation to be able to highlight great instrumental groups like this and reinvest into our students for what they need in their future. But I think it's important that we talk about a question that we continue to hear around the community, and one of those is, hey, we heard the district has got this $25 million, and they moved it somewhere, they hid it somewhere. Well, thank you, Mayor. That's the mayor's laugh. I could tell that from all the way up here. We didn't hide anything. What we did is we got together a group of community business people and said, hey, let's talk about a cash balance policy. Let's take a look at, we are in the best financial position that we've been in 40 years, as we could see. And let's take a look at how we can be smart with that money, not just on what we think internally, but let's take a look at our external experts as well. So they said, we need to adopt a cash balance policy. It sets minimums and maximums that says, hey, when your cash balance gets to this level, you got to go for a new levy or you got to make some reductions. When your cash balance gets to this level, maybe you can put that money into a different account and use that for one-time investments back into the school district, and that's exactly what we did. The board, in public session, made a decision to adopt a cash balance policy, to transfer $25 million into an account to be used for one-time investments, and those one-time investments are going to help support our future facility needs. So if you've heard me speak or you've read the information that we've shared in the past, you know that starting last year about this time, all the way throughout the summer, we had 100 community members and staff members get together and say, what is the vision for the future of facilities in Strongsville City Schools? What do we want to see in the next 30 to 50 years? And that group came out with a master facilities plan that the Board of Education adopted that said, we need 3 new elementary schools where Chapman currently is, where Sarar currently is, and where Albion Middle School used to be. We need to renovate Kinsner, and then we need to renovate and repurpose Moraski to be an administrative building and a preschool, and we need to abate and demolish the rest of the buildings. Now, unfortunately, in November, our renewal levy did not pass, So this plan was put on hiatus. It was put on hold. But this need still exists. The challenge is every year we wait to fulfill this need because we are running out of room, because we are one of the few growing suburbs in Cuyahoga County. You need to take that figure that's there and add 12% to it. Every year we wait to reinvest back into our school district and our community, the price tag goes up for the same thing that we could have gotten this year. But we didn't just take a look at the facilities in terms of elementary buildings. We looked holistically at what about performing arts and athletics, and ensuring that we encapsulated everything that we needed for the future. And we said for our community, for our kids, for what we need to support, we want to build an athletic field house. We want to upgrade our performing arts facilities, and we want to turf our baseball and softball field. And through the strong financial management and oversight, as a part of the plan with the elementary schools, that $25 million that we're talking about was able to do a few different things. It was able to pay off the Muraski addition early so that we can repurpose it. It was able to reduce the ask to the community for the bond by $20 million, and it was able to use some additional funds possibly for other resources. But right now, if we do not move forward with that plan because of the financial instability we have with the renewal levy, that $25 million that could have been reinvested to new elementary schools, new athletic facilities, and performing arts upgrades may have to be used for critical repairs for buildings that are 70 and 60 years old. Do we want to put a new roof on a 70-year-old building, or do we want to build a new building that meets the demands and needs of our learners today? And so the other thing that we keep hearing besides the $25 million is, hey, the district, you've got this large cash surplus, so what are the facts surrounding that? Well, just so you know, by law, we have to have a 5-year forecast, and our treasurer, George Anagnostou, does that twice a year, and by law, we have to operate in the positive. We cannot have a negative cash balance. And so what the 5-year forecast does is it shows estimates of where our revenues are expected to be over a 5-year period of time and where our expenses will be so that we can maintain a healthy cash balance. And as I said earlier, school revenue is pretty much flat. Expenses go up about 3 to 5% a year, and eventually those two lines shall cross. And so if you take a look at, we are increasing more students every year. That requires more staff. The needs of our students are getting more diverse. That requires more staff. Health insurance costs go up. Goods and services costs go up. Just think about your bill going to the grocery store today than you did 5 years ago. You can understand that prices are going up. And so when we passed that last levy in May of 2019, the Board of Education at that time said, based on our past, we don't want to go every 3 to 4 years. That's not been a winning strategy for the school district. We want to extend this money out as long as we possibly can. We want it to last through the 26-27 school year. So when you do that, when you look at having a levy for that length of a period of time, and expenses or revenue is being generated that's higher than expenses, you're going to build up a cash balance in those early years. You're then going to plateau, and then you're going to spend down that cash balance to get you to the later years. So if you take a look at a graphic with our 5-year forecast, you could see just that. You could see that we are now at the midway point, or a little over the halfway point of that levy cycle, and in 2024, which is this school year, we have plateaued for our cash balance. And starting next school year, we are going to start to, if I have a little red dot here, we are going to start to deficit spend. That means our expenses are more than our revenue, but my goodness, because we've got good financial planning, we've got a cash balance that's going to carry us to the out years and even extend further than that 2026-27 school year. But if that renewal levy is not approved by the voters, this is what it looks like down here. This is the expense or the expenses over revenue. This is the deficit spend that you will see. And as you know, it continues to snowball and get quicker and quicker. So what could have been, by not adding new taxes, a $33 million cash balance in 2027 is now down to a $9 million, and we're repeating the history that we've had in the past. And so another way to look at it is cash on hand days. So this is what our committee came up with. They said we need at least 90 days of cash on hand. And you could see this graph does a great job of saying in the early years, we're going to build our cash balance, and in the out years, we're going to use that cash balance so that we can continue with our programs and services and supports without asking our community for new funding. Now, some people have said, well, hey, if you have that cash balance, why don't you cut the renewal levy in half? And as you can see by these graphs, the green are what it is fully implemented, the yellow is what it's in half. All we're doing is speeding up the amount of time that we would need to ask the community for money, and we'd have to ask for more. And so that's why the board has approved a renewal levy, issue 25, that's going to be on the March 19th, 2024 ballot, that just continues the same level of funding that we have now. It generates almost $10 million of revenue for the district to provide the great programs and services that we have for our kids without adding new taxes to your tax bill. And so whether we need this or not, or should we ask our taxpayers for funding when we need it, we've got to remember that, as I said, if it's not continued, we're going to have to come back sooner with a greater amount. We have to remember our history. Our history says that our community supports our levies with a 29% approval rate, and so we've listened to our community and had a longer duration between levy requests. And so, as some of you may know, I don't live in Strongsville, I live in another community. And that community is Medina. And Medina is about 2 years ahead of where Strongsville is. Medina right now, whether they have a levy on the March ballot, and whether that levy passes or not, they are going to implement an $8 to $10 million cut, because they are too far into the deficit spend to slow it down and continue to maintain the services. So let's take a lesson from one of our great neighbors a couple communities south, and let's learn from that, and let's do what we possibly can to ensure that we can continue on in the path that we're going down. And so what we believe as a school district, that we provide a great value and a premier educational experience. And we do that in a variety of ways. First of all, we ensure that we're investing in our students, and you can see this graph demonstrates the per pupil expenditure to comparable districts, and we're not at the top, we're not at the bottom, we're right in the middle, and I would say that's a great value. And if you take a look at where Strongsville sits in all of Cuyahoga County, we rank 26th out of 31 communities in terms of our levied school taxes on the community. That means if I take my house in Strongsville and move it to 25 other suburbs in Cuyahoga County, that same house, you are going to pay more in taxes than you do in Strongsville. 81% of suburbs are paying more taxes on the same value of house than you do in Strongsville, and I think that's a great value. And besides what we're saying internally, we've shared this, and just to commend George Anagnoscu, our treasurer's department, and all of our staff and administrators that do this work. We get recognized not only locally, but state and nationally for our financial forecasting, as well as our budgeting. And the one thing, Mayor, get your hands ready to clap. You clap for this every time. You ready? Is we have a double A1 Moody's rating. And so what this means is this is an outside group from Chicago that takes a look at your financial stability, your financial prudence, and gives you a rating to say, how well are you run financially? That's the second highest rating that they can give. And that's something that we can all be proud of, is not just locally are we saying we're doing a great job financially, but across the state, across the nation, we are getting endorsements for the work that we're doing financially. And so, you know, and this is something, if you leave here and you take one talking point to share with your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, the community, this is one that I would share. You know, we were at a board meeting recently, and one of our community members shared the idea of, hey, why don't you give a rebate? And we shared that, hey, legally we can't give a rebate as a school district, but if you think about the concept, a rebate is, hey, we're going to give a one-time payback to somebody for what they did. What this is saying, and I'll explain it in a second, is we as a school district, because of the strong financial management, we didn't give a rebate. We gave a reduction that happens every single year. So what that means is back in 2020, or back in 2012, we passed a bond issue. In 2020, we were able to refinance that bond, decrease the millage ask on our community, and that saved the taxpayers directly $20 million that they would have had to pay for the buildings that we built back in that time. And so if you take a look at what that means, we pay taxes on what is called the effective rate, so that middle column. The effective rate for school taxes in Strongsville has gone down by almost 5.5 mils. So that means if you compare your tax bill in 2020 to your tax bill in 2024 per $100,000 of valuation, every Strongsville taxpayer is paying $165 less in 2024 than they were in 2020. And now that's something to clap about and be proud about. And so what I would like to do is to share not just the numbers and the finances, but how this financial stability and prudence helps us to support our learners across the entire district.
The goal is really to experience what it is that we want our students to be experiencing in the classroom. And really this year we're focused primarily on our Model Mustang competencies and ensuring that our staff really understand the depth that we want to go with those. Our teachers get to experience firsthand what that looks like, and then they can go and apply the same thing in the classrooms with their students. To empower everyone, whether it be our principals, whether it be our teacher leaders, to actually lead this work with everybody so that we're a part of it, we find meaning in it, and we can provide some autonomy to what really works for different buildings and different staff based on where they are.
So LETTERS stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. It's not a curriculum, it's not a program. What it is ongoing professional development for teachers who are interested in teaching our students the best, most research-based strategies for reading and writing. What's great about LETTERS is it's not a fad, it's not something that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow. It's really based on science and research. And when I say science, I mean everything. Linguistic specialists, cognitive therapists, educational professionals, you name it, across the gamut, thousands and thousands of studies have gone into looking at what makes the best readers and writers. We look at brain scans, eye movements, linguistic patterns, everything you would think, from ears to brain to mouth, to what makes a great reader.
I generally think about the skill set that these students need. And I know that me, along with my colleagues, we complain a lot. I don't want to say complain, but we discuss a lot about the things that students are lacking. And every single time it doesn't come back to lacking content. It's lacking the skill set. They can't problem solve. Then when they get something wrong, they don't know what to do. So to be honest with you, like I said, for somebody who's so content driven, these skill sets are probably more important. And so now I'm approaching things different, in my classroom. I approach things and look at what's the big picture idea. And at the end of the day, yeah, is it important that they could do the content? Yes, but it's just as important that they have that skill set of, like I said, knowing that, hey, if I get something wrong, I could redo it again, and they don't have a problem with that. I would rather build that in them because that's going to carry them a lifetime.
So I started in the classroom. I taught second grade. I taught second grade for about 8 years, and back in the day, thought I was a great teacher, doing all the things the right way, did guided reading groups with leveled books. And as I became a literacy coach, and we got a little bit more of an understanding through the process when we were working with the state on what does the continuum of literacy really look like, and how can we better support our kids from the simple view of reading, starting with phonemic awareness, with word decoding. And I realized along the way that I really wasn't doing it the right way. And so we had a lot of time spent in LETTERS training at that time when I was a literacy coach, and just learning the progression of how we should really be teaching our kids how to read. And it really just helps us to make sure that we are individualizing our instruction and giving the kids the best support possible.
It's giving us those tools to come back to the classroom and immediately start the next week doing something new with students.
To me, empowered means you're confident to do something and it's powering you to get through something. It helps you learn by what you need to do and what you want to do. Empowered means that you have the control of your learning. One time when I was empowered, We had a book and we made it by ourselves, so I picked what was right for me.
To me, being resilient means like if, say, like you mess up, you don't just quit. You just keep going, keep working, because if you fail, you can learn from that and you have a better chance to succeed if you keep going.
Instead of just learning, you also get to know people better and work together. And that can help because you might not know something on your own, and you can have other people to guide you.
Are they even making the sounds correctly to then set them up for success at the word level, at the sentence level? And it's really just that rocket from here, right? We build it right, and then it can take off.
It means that you have control of your learning, and when you have choices, you can choose what's best for you.
So you know, probably about 10 years ago, right around this time, I interviewed to be the superintendent here in Strongsville City Schools. And as I was preparing an interview with the board, they had told me beforehand, hey, when you come in and interview, we want you to share the vision you have for the future of Strongsville City Schools. And so I went into that meeting and shared with them that I had a vision that our district could be a premier school district, not only in the region, but in the state. It wasn't about being premier for the name or title or recognition, but it was about being premier for our kids, so that they can have the experiences and the resources and the supports that they needed so they could be successful. And 10 years later, I'm extremely proud of the work we've collectively done, because not only do I feel we're well on our way, but we're meeting that standard and being a leader for others in the region as a school district. And so if we like those outside endorsements and verifications, we are seeing that, not only in our classrooms through our own measures, but outside of our classrooms through the state measure, being one of only 75 school districts in the state of Ohio that receive the top rating that you can receive. Being one of a very few school districts in the top 4% in terms of how we're growing our students year after year, and one of our buildings, our high school, in the top 0.2% of all buildings in the entire state in terms of how they are growing their students. So I think Strongsville City Schools has a beautiful story to share. And I'm excited about the next chapters that we get to write and craft together, and to understand that none of this work is done in isolation or alone. It's done with a group of collaborative, dedicated, passionate people. I just get to be the one lucky enough to stand up here and share the story with you. But we're blessed to have a phenomenal board of education, administrative team, staff, and teachers that support this work each and every day. And as you wander around after I'm done speaking here, you'll see so many of our city partners that have bridged gaps years ago to make sure we had a unified focus for what we wanted for all of our kids in this community and what we wanted as a community into the future. And I'm just blessed to have been a small part of that work. So, with that being said, it's time to get out there and to mingle and to interact and to see this great work in action. So Ray, as I'm talking, if you want to bring up the house lights a little bit, you got a program, our Mustang Mentors gave you a program on your way in. We encourage you to go out, interact, wander. They have interactive experiences for you. Have a great evening, and we look forward to continuing the conversation outside.